Today, in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And today our topic is role of youth in family business. It's something that really fun to do. It is a family business. Family business are stronger because of the complementary skills of the members. A family business is a commercial organization in which decision making is influenced by multiple generations of a family related by blood or marriage or adoption, who has both the ability to influence the vision of the business and the willingness to use this ability to pursue distinct goals. They are closely identified with the firm through leadership or ownership. Owner, manager, entrepreneurial firms are not considered to be family businesses because they lack the multi-generational dimension and family influence that create the unique dynamics and relationships of family businesses. Family business is the oldest and most common model of economic organization. The vast majority of businesses throughout the world, from corner shops to multinational publicly listed organizations with hundreds of thousands of employees, can be considered family businesses. Based on research of the Forbes 400 richest Americans, 44% of the Forbes 400 members' fortunes were derived by being a member of or in association with a family business. Embracing change in the family business explains methods to handle the interruptions that occur in the family business cycle. Family business is a vital form of business, representing 80% of all the firms in US, 85% in the European Union, 90% in the Middle East, and 99% in Japan. The economic prevalence and importance of this kind of business are often underestimated. Throughout most of the 20th century, academics and economists were intrigued by a newer, improved model. Large publicity traded companies run in an apparently rational, bureaucratic manner by well-trained organization men. Entrepreneurial and family firms with their specific management models and complicated psychological process often fell short by comparison. Privately owned or family-controlled enterprises are not always easy to study. In many cases, they are not subject to financial reporting requirements, and little information is made public about financial performance. Ownership may be distributed through trusts or holding companies, and family members themselves may not be fully informed about the ownership structure of their enterprise. However, as the 21st century global economic model replaces the old industrial model, government policy makers, economists, and academics turn to entrepreneurial and family enterprises as a prime source of wealth creation and employment. In some countries, many of the largest publicly listed firms are family-owned. A firm is said to be family owned if a person is the controlling shareholder, that is, a person can garner enough shares to assure at least 20% of the voting rights and the highest percentage of voting rights in comparison to other shareholders. Some of the world's largest family-run businesses are Walmart, United States, Samsung Group, Korea, and Tata Group, India. The Global Family Business Index comprises the largest 500 family firms around the globe. In this index, published for the first time in 2015 by Center for Family Business, University of St. Gallen and EY, for a privately held firm, a firm is classified as a family firm in case a family controls more than 50% of the voting rights. For a publicly listed firm, a firm is classified as a family firm in case the family holds at least 32% of the voting rights. Family-owned businesses account for over 30% of companies with sales over $1 billion. In a family business, 2 or more family members within the management team are drawn from the owning family. Family businesses can have owners who are not family members. Family businesses may also be managed by individuals who are not members of the family. However, family members are often involved in the operations of their family business in some capacity, and in smaller companies, usually 1 or more family members are the senior officers and managers. In India, many businesses that are now public companies were once family businesses. Family participation as managers and or owners of a business can strengthen the company because family members are often loyal and dedicated to the family enterprise. However, family participation as managers and or owners of a business can present unique problems because the dynamics of the family systems and the dynamics of the business systems are often not in balance. Today's youth has a completely different take on business and lifestyle compared to the previous generation. So there exist huge generation credibility and communication gaps. Despite all this, more than 50% of the next generation is hoping to manage their family business in the future, according to a report titled Succession Planning, Family Legacy and You by professional service firm PwC India. PwC surveyed 147 individuals in India and 2,939 people globally for the report. The starting point is to protect and grow family wealth as a generation change happens. Beyond this, we have seen that the youth are increasingly driven by the need for greater empowerment and purpose, and hence have entrepreneurial learnings, said Gaurav Lahiri, partner Deloitte India, a professional service network. It is very important to have faith in the younger generation who is fully equipped to handle their exposure to world-class business environment and practices which help them to perform better in real business situations. Despite all the efforts, ambition, and positive outlook, only 12% family business make it to the 3rd generation, and as low as 3% make it to the 4th. Risk-taking ability between the current and the next generation lies at the 2 extreme ends of the spectrum. Nearly 20% of the next generation feels that their vision is very different from the current generation. The next generation is more aggressive and open to new ideas. The current generation needs to be willing to give up their positions and open doors for young talent. The next generation too needs to pull up its socks. They need to be more focused, responsible, and take active interest in the management process instead of aiming only at end profits. A strong business acumen and problem-solving skills will take the next generation a long way. Being emotionally attuned and authentic in their leadership style is equally important. And to discuss today's very, very important and relevant topic, that is role of youth in family business. We have 6 youth, as well as we have the chief guest of today's program. I would like to invite and introduce my chief guest of the program. He is Mr. Devendra Chaudhary. Mr. Devendra Chaudhary is the Executive Director of Aqua Plumbing Private Limited. He is manufacturing bath and kitchen sanitary fittings. He has 38 years of manufacturing experience. He employs approximately 600 employees with annual production of 25 lakh pieces of fittings. The company is Zero Liquid Discharge Company, approved by NGT. He won Industry Leadership Award by Dainik Jagran. He won prestigious Brand of the Year Award by Times of India Group. He is the treasurer of Ujjwal Braj, an NGO for the upliftment of Braj area. First critical care ambulance and standalone blood bank was put into service at Mathura under his leadership on Rotary platform. He was the committee chairman with National Chamber Commerce and Industries to get CNG and PNG sanctioned for Mathura. He is very actively involved with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for water, sanitation, and hygiene. Welcome, Mr. Devendra Chaudhary, on our show. Mr. Devendra Chaudhary, just unmute yourself and bring the screen towards you, because there is a gap on the top of you. Too much. Bring the screen. Bring more screen. If you can, a bit closer. No, you have to be. Yes. Now it is fine.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Devendra Chaudhary, as you have heard, that today's topic is role of youth in family business, and you are in business for last more than 38 years. So you are the right person to talk about the role of youth in family business. Mr. Devendra Chaudhary, please.
Hi, good morning, everyone. As Mr. Goel said, youth is important for us to scale up our businesses and to take these businesses to new heights. Definitely, there are many hiccups and hooks which we see every day, because mine is a third generation into this business. My grandparents, they started, then my uncles joined, then we joined this business. And now we are looking at our fourth generation to join us to take this business to a new height. It's good to inform you all, like we started this business activity in 1950. So from there, from 1950 till now, it's almost 7 decades. So three generations have completed their tenure into this business, and we have seen ups and downs. And we have done a lot of innovation, transformation, transition phase, which we have seen, and which we have observed by traveling to many factories in China, in Europe, in first world, just to understand how they do, how they perform, how they manage, how they scale up, and how they are basically sustaining into this global market where the competition is growing up. So putting everything together, we thought that there has to be 7 P's, which we have basically brought in into our system. Like, first is our passion. So once you have passion, I mean, you can do anything. I mean, if you need to go crazy for your job profiles, for your business, whatever you do, that is the most important thing. But the point is the role of youth into the family business. Family business is like your parents have started something, and the kid, they are having better education than parents, because we as a parent, we are trying to promote our kids, and we are sending them to get higher studies and better studies abroad. Like, uh, we started in normal schools, central schools, and we want that kids should go and take their education and the classes in London School of Economics and university all over the world. But we are not preparing ourselves that once kids are back from their academic activities, they would be joining definitely business. We need to bring in change for them. We need to make this platform ready for them. If we are anticipating that kids should join us, we have to change ourselves. We have to change our practices. In India, it's really difficult to bring in a complete transformation into existing businesses. A lot of hooks and problems are being seen. which is like most importantly, I'd say, as per my experience, capex is the biggest problem. As an entrepreneur, some people don't wish and don't want to invest on machines. We are basically trying to invest on people. But yes, employment is important, but gradually transformation to mechanical strength, which is helping you to make good quality products and to export your things, is also important. New generation is definitely looking for something which is at par with global standards and uh, the exposure they got during their education. They feel like the facility or the production capacity or the production facility should look like what they have understood, what they have seen, what they have like during their training their training programs. They have visited so many factories and so many businesses, and they have seen all the businesses are system based. In India, if you look at SME segment, it's more of person based. If there is a person, he's controlling the entire business. If he's not there, the business is not doing well. Now, what is basically driving our generation to bring in next generation into this business? We have to get synced with their thought process, what they feel, what they expect from us. Means suppose my business is controlled by some of the software like Tele, and the new generation says, no, sir, we need to work on SAP. So this is a call with the back end, or I say like we are the managers, as Mr. Goel said, promoters are the managers. If they are working morning to evening, they are promoters at one end, and but they are managers simultaneously because they work day to day and they are bringing in their skills and professional uh, capabilities into business every day. But involvement of a person or involvement of a system, that's there are two different areas. You can bring your experience, but bringing in database programs within the business, bringing in new way of learning, new way of bringing thoughts, new way of developing. You need to work with multiple softwares. You need to have those kind of systems. You need to have backend IT uh, IT teams. You need to have customer cares. You need to have many things go hand in hand. In actual Indian scenario, if you look at why businesses are not basically getting their successes, because we as a generation, we are not ready to accept the new thought because it is basically involving a cost. So generation is losing their interest into family business. As a family, as a business entrepreneur, what we need to look at new government policies, how to bring in our asset back into our system. My point, my asset means my generation. So my generation is my asset. My asset is not with me, means my business is going for a toss.
Excuse me, Mr. Chaudhary. Still, I received a message from studio. You have to bring the screen towards you because the face is not visible proper. Somewhat more. The space is more, a little more. Now it is fine if you are sitting like this. Yes, yes. Yes, please. Thank you.
So my voice is clear?
Yeah, voice is clear. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So it's basically like the transition and transformation for an entrepreneur. I mean, at sitting at my age, looking into my next generation, looking into the growth factor, looking into how the compatibility with the MNC brands or with MNC brands and to stay at par with the market requirements. So need to bring in a lot of capex and a lot of need to invest on systems and plants and machineries and which we feel like I mean it is going we'll be losing a fortune. This is a this is something we Indians or we entrepreneurs we had a little fear for the new investments. So big investments are, it's not basically one time, 2x or 3x or 4x, it's 5x or 6x. Is the plans are bigger because in Europe or in first world or in China, I mean they are basically having everything readily available, which is tech part and or which is a market, and they have very good reputation among among the consumers, among the buyers, that anything which is produced in first world is having best of the quality. Anything which is produced in China is having best of the prices, best of the presentations, and definitely, if you pay money, you spend money, I mean, you get best of the quality from China also. But in India, why entrepreneurs and why businesses are losing confidence among the buyers? Because we are working on old systems. We are using old systems. I'm talking about SME segment. We are trying to manage things which is not in line with the thought process of our next generation, where you said only 12% of your 12% of the youth is basically looking into a legacy of family business as a succession. And why this number is not 50% or 60% or 70% or 80%? Because kids have seen that the growth of the family, but why they are not willing to join family business? What is basically keeping themselves away from family business? That is a big question. They have they have done good studies. They are IIT, IIM, and post graduations, MBAs, specialized fields. Now they feel like the business should look like what they have studied in their books and what they have seen in the corporate world. But in private, it is difficult to bring in that kind of investments and thought process immediately. Bungee jumping in SME segment is not possible. We need to climb the ladders slowly, gradually. If our generation, second generation, third generation is willing to bring in fourth generation into the system, we feel like first we need to change ourselves. We need to think that we have to invest to regain our assets for future. First, we have to change. Then we feel like that the new generation will be playing a big role in the family businesses. This is my thought process because I can put an example of my two sons. Both studied abroad. One is still studying in US and one is back. But they have taken a promise and they have taken a commitment. If I want them back to my business, they feel like the business should look like this. Some of the manual processes should look like, things have to be automated. We were doing business and we were maintaining things on Fox Pro. So from Fox Pro, we basically shifted to SAP. That's a big challenge, and that was a big thought because somewhere we need to bring in a thought that this is to be done for the new generation. What we have done with our experience. We have got it. We involved on each and every part because that was from scratch till the level which we have reached. But when the new kids are joining the business, the existing platform is basically the scratch for them. From this scratch, they want to go 10x. So 10x, you cannot put yourself with your mental power, or you cannot go on the floor. You don't want to get involved into day-to-day systems. It's more of like the process and the business should be controlled by your softwares and hardwares, and you need to have backend support. So with a flick of button, I mean, the things should be visible and it should be made available to them on the screen itself. So it's more of like doing Brahmaji ka work. Like you become a creator first with a big thought, big canvas. Unless until you have support systems, these kind of support systems, you cannot basically look for a bigger perspective. You cannot draw your canvas, you cannot have a big canvas unless until you have good support from your system. For implementing all these things, our generation has to bring in money. We need to bring in investments. To bring in an investment is basically purely up to us how much we want to invest. We are into bathroom fitting business. We are looking at the many brands which were there in the market. Mr. Goel, you might have heard about the brands which were popular during your time at Mathura also, like Kashi Group and Calbro Groups and LNK Groups. They have deep rooted, brand strength. But now where they are, it's gone. Almost they have lost the entire business. The generation, even second generation, didn't did fairly well, but they had a chance to become an Indian brand, national brand, but they didn't invest it. They, they didn't brought in capex. They didn't brought in what was required to this business at the required time. Many brands like uh, which were in Delhi and in Chandigarh. These are the three hubs where bathroom things are majorly manufactured. There was a very popular brand called Mark. Everybody has used probably that brand. Why? Why it is not doing so well? Why Jaguar is doing well? There is a difference. Mark is from Delhi, Jaguar is from Delhi, and both are partners. Why Jaguar has performed fairly well and they're doing like, I mean, they are basically Indian market leader. Where is Mark? Mark has gone down. It's nowhere. What is the difference? Jaguar invested on tech part, on transition, on transformation, but Mark, they didn't invest it. Same thing happened to Mathura. Why KTC failed? Why KB failed? Why we are successful? Because we invested. They just did business. They were looking for NPs, net profits. We were looking for NWs, net worth. So there was a difference in thought. So looking into thought process, once you sit with new generation, they basically give you some ideas, and then we need to basically analyze and visualize which is more important for the business, which is more important to retain your assets or to basically have a succession of your legacy through your next gen. That's something looking into Indian perspective. I mean, we have to think upon and we have to take care of many aspects, whether it's government related issues or whether it's basically construction or it's licenses and availability of machinery, then availability of tech part. So a lot of areas we need to bring in a thought and we need to give support to our new generation, and we have to be their great wall of China. Once they start, they become frontliner. We basically have to work for them as a great wall of China. So they don't need to look back. We have to show that kind of a strength to them that yes, you take your head start. We are there to support you. That should be the call with the families. So if families are willing and wishing that their next gen should stay into the business, they themselves had to go for a bigger change in their thought process, in their investment plans, and in their overall vision for the business. Over to you, Mr. Goel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deven Chaudhary, for giving such an in-depth knowledge about the family business. And first of all, I would like to congratulate you that you are ready to hand over your baton to the fourth generation. Because as I read the report very clearly says the world over, 12% family businesses makes to the third generation and only 3% makes to the fourth. And you are going to be in that 3%, where the fourth generation is going to keep your flag high. Now, this is because what Mr. Chaudhary, our chief guest, has mentioned very clearly, the vision of the current generation. If the current generations wants that the next generation should take over, they have to change their mindset. They have to be thinking, their thinking process should be alike what next gen is thinking. They should sit with them. They should try to change. And for that, you have to reinvest. You have to invest money wise, your thought process wise, and your vision wise. And according to our chief guest, Mr. Deven Chaudhary, this is only possible if the current generation is flexible. If the current generation thinks that the next generation, which is going to take over, is having the ideas, they should have faith. The current generation should have faith. They should listen to them and try to change their own thinking, because whatsoever the earlier generations have done, they are doing with the current market scenario. The market is changing very, very fast. And once the current market requires more tech savvy, more development, more investment in the machinery part or the software part, one has to change, which was not there in that particular, the current generation, when they took over from their earlier generation. So that is why to role of youth is very, very important, because in two reasons. If they want to take over the family business, they have to think that whatsoever has been done by my earlier generations, I have to take it in the forefront again. But for that, they should also try to convince in a proper way, because it is very it's not easy to convince a current or older generation for new changes, because the new, as our chief guest has mentioned, the new generation has seen the latest technology, they have visited the factories, they have studied abroad, and they have seen what is happening today in the world. Now, to get that feeling, to bringing that to technology and those vision to your existing business is not that easy, because the current generation feels that whatsoever we are doing well. Why you want changes? And for that, the current generation as well as the young generation both has to sit across the table, explain each other, both has to accommodate, not only that next generation, or not only the older generation, both has to accommodate each other. And that's why what chief guest says, Mr. Chaudhary said today, that this is very important. And he has given examples of few of the industries which were at one time the leaders of the trade, but they are nowhere, because they have not changed the transition period, they have not handled properly. While Mr. Chaudhary is lucky, I must congratulate once again to him, that he has reinvested. He has invested not only in the machinery part, vision part, and other mindset part, which he has changed. And that's why he is very willing, ready to hand over his baton to the next generation. And here, the role of youth is also very important. They must be very practical. They should not only think and visualize what is the success story of only the top corporates, because what Mr. Deven Chaudhary, the chief guest, has mentioned is that in India, the maximum number of industries belongs to MSME, and MSME is having these problems. The top corporate houses are different. So he has given his views about the MSME. He says the MSME requires, if the youth wants to play important role, they have to accommodate themselves. And similarly, he has mentioned that the older generation, the current generation, should also accommodate them. Thank you very much, Mr. Deven Chaudhary, for giving such a very enlightened talk today. I am sure not only youth, but the current generation is also enlightened with your talks. And many of the MSME owners or the directors or the managers, business people will definitely take a cue from you and try to change their business pattern, their mindset, so the next gen can come and take over their business. Thank you very much once again, Mr. Deven Chaudhary. Now I would like to invite my youth guest one by one. You have to introduce yourself once I will take your name, and then you speak for 5 minutes on the topic. My first youth guest is Mr. Ansel D'Souza. Mr. Ansel D'Souza, please unmute yourself.
Hello,
Mr.
sir.
Ansel, yeah, Mr. Ansel D'Souza, you have heard our chief guest, Mr. Deven Chaudhary, in details. Now, we would like to know from you the role of youth in family business. Mr. Ansel D'Souza, please.
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Ansel D'Souza. I am a student in the University of West London, Russell Kaimau. So, what is a family business? In short, it's basically a business that's owned by the members of a family. So they handle decisions like how to run a business, what to produce, etc. Another crazy thing is there have been some family businesses that have been lasting for years and generations together. An example of this is Japan's hotel business. Hold on. It's called Hoshi Ryokan, which has lasted for 46 generations. Can you believe that? That's crazy. 46 generations. And in places like the United States, they account for 64% of their gross domestic product and contribute to 78% of their employment. Not to forget, they are the backbone for the US economy. So the question is, where does the role of youth come in all this? You see, the problem with family businesses is that they are bound by traditions. They're bound by those norms, and as a result, they don't change. It's even there's actually a report in UK that says that majority of the family businesses over there in UK, when it came to innovation, they focused on improving existing products and selling them in existing markets rather than explore new technological fields. So you see, in today's world, you either live with change or you fail. Now, this is where I feel youth steps in because we have the tech savvy skills and we have innovative ideas that can boost business exposure and even sales. You see, we are born in a generation where technology is at the tip of our fingers. If you like walk outside, you'll always see a person with their, either calling someone, texting, playing video games. They're always on their phones. And firms as well, they've used this to their advantage. They market their products online nowadays, and as a result, new markets, new customers, etc. So this is where I feel youth comes in because we have the ability to express ourselves. So if we feel that something is not right, we voice it out. And that's the same for family businesses because they don't change. If we voice ourselves enough, it can change their way of thinking and uh, cause them to try new risks, new ventures, and new ideas, online trading, etc. That can again result in more customers, explore new markets, more sales, etc. This is why I feel, the role of youth is important. Another thing is that uh, some youth that are born in these family businesses, they start working at a young age, and as a result, what this does is that it gives them that competitive advantage, and they get skills like uh, decision making, the ability to take risks, and even leadership skills. Because at the end of the day, your family business is going to be passed on from generation to generation and finally into your hands. So when the time is right, when that business passes into your hands, you have to have the responsibility to carry it over your shoulders and obviously make it more profitable. Before I conclude this talk, I would like to say that the older generation must give an opportunity for the younger generation. Train them, mold them, and become much more successful than the older generation. Thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ansel. Mr. Devin Chaudhary has raised his hand. You want to say anything, Mr. Chaudhary?
Yeah, just a small question with Ansel.
Yeah.
Ansel, you have basically broadened your thought that families are not bringing changes which is required to further scale up. Like if you look at, as you quoted there for the Japanese hospitality business, like 46th generation has joined that business, and 47th generation is not in sync with the thought that it should go with some of the different ideas to get scaled up, right? Hello.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
So my point is like any generation, not me, any parent or any person like me who is holding some of the roots, they would like to basically go with logics. This is basically where and our generation and next generation having little difference of opinion. We are basically willing to accept things with logic, or we are basically willing to sell our logic if they buy it. If they basically they are willing to sell that logic to us, we are basically ready to buy that logic, either buy logic or sell logic. It's not that generation is tech savvy and they can do things faster than the old generation, but there has to be a logic and there has to be a lesser risk factor. Either we need to bring in value addition or we need to look for the mass market. After 46th generation, we should look at how to bring in more values to our business, because there is a basically legacy. Now 46 generation is a legacy. So legacy means more commitment and more basically quality. So volume is not required, value is required. If we have to bring in some changes, we have to do back integrations, not the front integration. We need to go with back integrations. How to save on OpEx, how to bring new systems, how to take care of the basically recurring expenses. I mean, that's basically where we can show our skills. Means new generation can show skills with the systems, with the thought process that they go. This was done by your generation, and we as new generation we brought in a complete new system. And it's like these are the dashboards. You can basically save 2% of your expenses, which are basically the running expenses or the OPEX. So that
Okay.
way, I mean, you have to prove yourself to bring in your ideas for the new business.
Okay. So what basically our chief guest is saying is that either you convince the young generation should convince the older generation, or the older generation should convince the new generation. And one point which he has made very important is when we are talking of 46th generation in that hotel industry, especially in Japan. Today we are discussing here in India. That is a legacy. The 47th generation should understand that without doing anything, their reputation is all over the world. Only you just require to see some modifications on some changes, and you are on the top everywhere. Thank you very much, Mr. Devin Chaudhary, for giving your views on what Mr. Ansal has said. Thank you very much, Mr. Ansal D'Souza, for giving your views. Now, I would like to invite my next youth guest, and she is Miss Benazir Usmani. Miss Benazir Usmani, you have heard our chief guest, Mr. Devendra Chaudhary, as well as you have heard earlier youth guest. Now, we would like to know from you the role of youth in family business. Miss Benazir Usmani, first introduce yourself, and then you please bring your screen towards you. You are very, you can't see, we can't see your face fully. Yeah,
Is it
yes.
all right
Yeah,
now?
now it is fine. Yes. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Benazir Usmani, and I'm a business student from Aligarh Muslim University. So here we are to discuss a very major topic covering the role of youth in the family business. It's uh, it's really a good thing to suss out what the hot buttons are in the very beginning. First of all, my mind is wedded to a mission of influencing youth and promoting value-based growth. Balks at the thought of generation driven by the solo purpose of making money, a generation that lives and swears by YOLO, that is, you live only once. And FOMO, fear of missing out, the anthem for this generation is party all night. Yes, the topic on the floor is role of youth in the family business. Family business, however, already appears to be an old tradition or an old thought for this generation and the last thing on their mind, because the contemporary tendencies in the market economies has shown that education and development of human resource, entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial spirit among young people are some of the top priorities of the national strategies and policies for economic progress among countries. It's hard to say that younger generation will strive on the business that runs on age old traditions. So the basic plan is to improve the employability of the young people through strengthening of entrepreneurship among young people and raising their competencies for employment and business. Family business, as said earlier, is one of the oldest and most prevalent form of business owners anywhere in the world and form the backbone of any country's prosperity and economy. Globally, business owned and managed owned by a single extended family account for about 90% of all the ventures. However, only a third of these family business survive to second generation and only mere 10% survive to the third generation. And hats off to the business who are still striving and succeeding, but it's difficult. It's really difficult. Why? Next generation talent discussion is much easier when they are theoretical and broad conversation rather than focused on elevating them to leadership role, because in my experience it's best to set up norms for when and how the next generation will enter the business, making sure that they emphasize capabilities and eliminate biases. that the youth understand them long before they're old enough to join the company. There are various youth business leadership programs nowadays which intend to develop a culture of leadership and excellence among teenagers and young adults from various sectors by promoting civic engagement. These programs across the world provides youth with the knowledge, tools, and opportunities to be the leaders of tomorrow and enrich their family business. It also attempts to discuss the problem of economic and institutional backwardness that is very much present in our country. The family business, though, caters to privileged youth with the most money on their mind, along with the ability to reflect on deeper issues affecting society. So, thinkers advise the country's privileged youth of a sound mind to quit a full time job and encourage them to refuse to work in corporates and brand themselves as tycoons and develop a sense for their ancestry business that originates from the forefathers. Because youth think materialistically, make money and help grow a business and do well in the material world, because that is the requirement. Family business do gooding in a very efficient way to make a nation a better place, and India's young, especially its better off, would do better to encash their luck in for profit material world. Privilege and its associated opportunities for good quality higher education in a place like India must never be squandered. The youth should be encouraged to become responsible citizens and change agents in the creation of a better society rather than passive consumers, managers, leaders who accept the status quo if it serves their immediate material interests. The youth, when we are talking about youth in general today, should be encouraged to be better informed and engaged with what is happening in the society and world around them. The family business has its advantage as families are likely to share same ethos and beliefs and how things should be done. And this will obviously give an extra sense of purpose and pride and a competitive edge in advance. But building a lasting family enterprise means you're more likely to put in extra hours and extra effort needed to make it a success. Knowing that you are building for future generation also encourages long-term thinking that is needed for the growth and success, because family members, when they join business, they are more willing to make financial sacrifices for the sake of business. So ultimately, serving on a family business requires more appreciation for multiple points of view than serving on others, as well as much more fitness and patience. It is a challenge but a deeply rewarding one. The companies like Tata Sons, Walmart, Reliance, Aditya Birla Group are long-time contributors to national and global economies. And with the right support, they're able to thrive crosswise generation. In conclusion, I sustain while youth play an important role in business lifespans, there are decisions you can make that can improve your chances for a longer and a more productive one. There is a thriving future. There is a thriving future, and that is in future in youth's hand. So quoting Sir Kalam, quote unquote, my message, especially to the young people, is to have courage to think differently, courage to invent, to travel the unexplored path, courage to discover the impossible, and to conquer the problems and succeed. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Benazir Usmani, for giving your views. And I agree with you that this is a very challenging for a youth to take up the family business, but it's rewarding also, and as well as it is something for the nation building. And as you rightly said, that there are courses, even that nowadays universities are offering the courses, MBAs for family business, the degrees for the family business. So those who are planning to go for the family business, even the families, the current generation should also try to send their children for the family business when they know that the child has to work with them in their family business. Then they must encourage them to do the post-graduation in the family business. So then the training will be for the family business. Thank you very much, Ms. Benazir Usmani, for giving your views. Now I would like to invite my next youth guest, and she is Miss Jean J. Lobo. Miss Jean J. Lobo, you have already heard our chief guest, Mr. Devin Chaudhary, and earlier youth guests. Now we would like to know from you the role of youth in family business. First, introduce yourself and then speak. Please unmute yourself.
Hello there, I'm Jean and I'm a student from St. Agnes College. And I'm here to give my views on the topic role of youth and family business. Every generation inspires to be more intelligent than the one that went before and more wiser than the one that comes after them, says George Orwell. And it's the responsibility of every generation to prepare the next to exceed. The youth need to be motivated to look beyond the ordinary and need to be more competitive in their nature. Today's youth are filled with a lot of energy, enthusiasm, with a lot of positive vibes, and the desire to do and learn more. The role of youth in business is no small, and the role of youth in family business is immense. When we think of family business, we might be tempted to think about.
One moment, please. One moment. I think someone has joined, but without muting. Yes, please go ahead. Sorry. Somebody has joined and she has not muted herself. Okay, please go ahead, Miss Lobo.
Thank you. So, when we think of family business, we might be tempted to think of this small mom and pop firms. But you might be wrong because most of the multinational large companies are family businesses. To say in the developed countries, 30% of businesses, large companies, are family businesses. And to name a few, like Walmart, Mars, and Coke Industries, a few. And there are many more. And in the developing countries, there are 50 to 80% of family business that make up the large companies. And we can say that family business are here to stay and they have a major contribution in the corporate landscape. The youth play a very vital role in all of this. The youth have, with their young minds, can help in developing new strategies in the business, and this can help in vitalizing the business with their young talents. The market is frequently changing, and the youth are quite updated with the market and they know the trends and demands better, and this can be a boon to the business. Today's youth, as we all know, are quite tech savvy, and our parents generation find it a little difficult with technology and have a little hard time with it. For especially businesses, the small and medium scale businesses who are not yet you know digitalized, we as youth can help them to be digitalized and get their business online by making a page or giving them information about various other tools and help them get their business online. The young generation have a fresh mindset and they have a different perspective of things, and they can help in planning unique ways to expand the business. We all have known and we have heard this saying that the youth are the assets of the country. But more specifically, I would like to say that the youth are most valuable assets of a family business. Thank you for the opportunity. I am pleased to hear my fellow mates and Mr. Lal
Thank you.
Goel.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lobo. What you said, yes, the youth are very much asset for a family business. But the problem which comes generally is that the youth wants to have their say not only on their business but the location. Because what happens in India, especially when we talk about the Indian business, the family businesses are located all over the India. They are not necessarily in the metro cities. They might be in a small city. And now those small, when youth, after studying, done his post-graduation and other things in India or abroad, when a good universities, when they comes back, they are not interested to settle in that small city. Then the problem comes. That is one of the major problem which the family business are facing, because they understand that the business is good, everything is good, but they says my living conditions are not good. I want to live in a metro city or in abroad, some very good country, or why to have in a small place. And there the generation gap, or the elders, because they want to, current generation wants to explain, no, this is the best place. You already have set up a fixed earning which is already there. You have to increase the earnings. That depends on you. But he says, no, my preference is for the good living. As earlier panelist says, that they are very high tech. They are not interested to save the money. They want to spend the money, party loving, etc., which they might not be getting in those cities which are running flourishing business. So one of the reason is this, but yes, you are right that the youth is having, they are very tech savvy, they can change the business. And for that, yes, the current generation has to change their mindset to give them the freedom to change the mindset. And what our chief guest has mentioned very clearly, that the current generation also understand the technology. Only thing is, you have to convince the older generation, the current generation, and the current generation either has to convince the younger generation. I will come to our chief guest at the last, because then you can give the concluding part in which you can analyze whatsoever they have mentioned. Thank you very much, Ms. Lowa, for giving your views. Now I would like to go to my next youth guest, and she is Miss Kia Rani. Miss Kia Rani, you have heard all our chief guest, Mr. Devendra Chaudhary, as well as earlier youth guest. Now we would like to know from you the role of youth in family business. Miss Kia Rani, please. First, introduce yourself, please.
Am I audible?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Kia Rani from University of West London, Russell Kema. First of all, I'd like to thank Professor Mohan Agarwal for giving me this opportunity. So, okay, as previously said, each generation thinks them to be like more innovative, intelligent, and creative than the previous generation, and more wiser than the upcoming generation. So, as the children grows from their youth to teenage and young adult, they spend most of their time exploring and they spend most of their time with their family members during weekends and all. So what family members could do is they could take those opportunities and help their young adults to know more about their business, to help them set learning goals through which they can learn about their family business and explore more about it. So this young adults, they could observe their family business very well and learn from it. So family members could also help them by giving them constructive feedbacks, and which will help them promote their listening ability, which is very important for any business. Then they could also help them improve the areas where they need to, progress, or areas where they are lacking behind or something like that, which will help them grow really well. So I personally work in my father's company as an accountant. From a very young age, I would observe him and ask him various questions about his business or what he was doing or how his work was being done. So being inquisitive is very important. So when they're inquisitive, they learn, and when they learn, they can explore various things. So when they explore, they get many opportunities. They know what's right and what's wrong. So it helps them in decision making. And moreover, working in family business gives youth various opportunity to learn better in their like being around their own family members. They get well feedbacks, and which helps them in improving their work, and moreover, it encourages them to do their task better. And then family members can encourage them with compliments. So when they get compliments and stuff like that, they themselves want to set up and set up their own goals and step up and do their best in the upcoming jobs they're given. Also, family, being a member of the family business, supporting our upcoming generations helps in the stability of the business, then trust and authenticity, then flexibility, vision, long term. It helps us set long-term goals. It could be personal or family, and anything like that, family business related and anything like that. It decreases cost and expenditures. Next generation gets better learning opportunities, and they bond up well with their previous generation also. It helps them continue the business with creative and innovative ideas. Generation brings new ideas. In fact, they brings really incredible ideas and better decision making, which is in fact the best decision makings. So being a part of your own family members, build the knowledge of company and pride amongst your family members and business. So I'll conclude by saying that preparing your next generation might take time and energy, but the rewards are immeasurable for both family and enterprise. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kiarani, for giving your views. Yes, you rightly said that, as you mentioned, that you have worked with your father in father's business. But the problem which the people are facing, the young generation is facing, or the current generation is facing, whenever the youth after completing the studies comes back and to want to take over the family business or to work in the family business, he or she wants to be on the top position. He or she wants to hold either the managing directorship or executive directorship, or to be called as a partner or the owner of the company. That is where the problem starts. Unless you will not learn from the basics, you cannot manage the company. I will give you an example of Mr. Ratan Tata. Everybody knows and everybody heard about him. When Mr. Ratan Tata completed his studies, when he came to join the Tata's group, he was appointed as the smallest person in that organization as a training, and in the training apprentice and whatnot. And he started learning everything. This is very much required. If the youth today feels that this is my own business, I must be on the top from the D-Day one, there the problems starts, because the youth forgets the relationship which has been built in years and years by the current generation with the employees, the staff, how they are treating them, and how the youth, whenever he takes over the organization or he wants to enter in the business, he forgets and he will try to impose his new regulations, because he had seen whatsoever he has learned in the textbooks or he has just watched, but he is not having a practical approach. So if, yes, youth is having all the new ideas, very tech savvy, but he must try to learn the family business if he or she wants to join the family business from the very beginning. So they will understand the basic philosophy of that particular business, including the HR relationship, the human resource relationship, which is also very important as far as the apart from the technology. Thank you very much, Ms. Kiarani, for giving your views. Now, I would like to invite my next youth guest, and she is Miss Madhulika Bansali. Miss Madhulika Bansali, you have heard what our chief guest, Mr. Deven Chaudhary, has mentioned about the role of youth in family business. Now we would like, and you have also heard earlier youth guest. Now we would like to know from you the role of youth in family business. Miss Madhulika Bansali, please unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and go ahead.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, please.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Madhulika Bansali, and I'm studying criminology and psychology from School of Social Work, Roshni Nilaya. So, family business is a very wide area, which is of growing interest to a lot of investors, policymakers, etc. So, I'd like to state a few statistics. So in United States and Latin America, around 80 to 95% of companies are still family owned and operated by further generations. Whereas in Europe and Asia, over 80% of businesses are still family owned and controlled. So, however big or small, however old and young these companies are, they contribute to around more than 50% of the GDP of the world. And but unfortunately, in the eyes of media, etc., the stereotype of nepotism comes up in family businesses, and it continues to overshadow the important contributions these businesses make on a very daily basis. Some of the examples of family owned businesses, very prosperous ones given by the Family Business magazine of the 100 oldest families are first, I would like to say Fiat, which is owned by the Agnelli family, Peugeot, which is a French automobile manufacturer, and BMW, Toyota, etc., Ford, Nordstrom, Scott's, and some Indian companies like the Tata Company, as we all know, Aditya Birla Group, the Godrej Group, and Reliance Group. These are all family-owned businesses and very successful ones. So in a family business, the founder and his spouse, the main role they play is in establishing the business, whereas the role of the next generation and the generations after that is to take that business further and to ensure the survival of that particular business. And research has shown that occupational preferences of the parents' profession affects the children and has a huge impact on the children, because usually if you see children go on the same career path as their parents, and many children learn about the business in their formative years, that is when they're really young. They learn and they live the life of that business, the family, how it is. So it's unknown to them, it's just very psychological. And many people the heirs should learn at a very early stage in life how to manage their own finances, and that they will have to work for the place in that company rather than inherit. They have to show that they are capable of taking over the role of the company. And the advantage of family owned businesses is that younger members of the family are more open to taking risks and to the emerging technological changes that are happening in the world. For example, if they choose management as a career, they will work very strategically. They'll use digital strategies in today's generation and many e-commerce opportunities. Running a business does not mean that it's successful, it's sufficient. They have to appreciate whatever efforts have been made by the previous generations, and but also to simultaneously focus on the adapting and changing family ownership system that is new in the environment and which has become very competitive. Therefore, continuing success and continuity across generations can be assured only then. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Madhukulika Bansali, for giving your views. And you have rightly said about nepotism. This type of feelings are there, and media, yes, highlight about the nepotism, even in the family business. Although the nepotism is generally for the politics, but now for my only take on this is that in a family, a business family, when the child is there, he or she is listening what the parents or the other members of the families are discussing. They are basically discussing about the business, that this much consignment has to go, there is a labor problem, how to deal this, or this problem from the government. So from the childhood, when the youth is listening all those things, he or she is definitely inclined and having more knowledge than a person who is not from a business family. Like a medical, if it is a child of a medical doctor or a lawyer, is already always listening what is happening in a medical field or in a legal field. So they definitely, their knowledge, their is ability to grasp is far more than a person who is not from a business family. So to term it as a nepotism in any way is wrong. Even in for politics, if we talk, because it is coming every day about the politics also is wrong, because in a political family they are only discussing politics day and night. So the child is listening day and night about the politics. So what is wrong if he or she becomes a politician? Similarly, in the business family, if the child is listening every day and night about the business, he or she has to go. If they are joining the family business, there is no nepotism. And my advice to all the youth are, if you are from the family business, please join the family business. Yes, you want to modify it with your own things, because your knowledge is far more than those who are not in the family, from the family business. Thank you very much, Ms. Madhulika Bansali, for giving your views. Now I would like to invite my last guest, youth guest, and he is Mr. P. Vamsi Gupta. Mr. Vamsi Gupta, please unmute yourself. Yes, Mr. Vamsi Gupta, you have heard what our chief guest, Mr. Devin Chaudhary, has mentioned about the role of youth in family business, as well as earlier youth guest. Now, we would like to know from you, role of youth in family business. Mr. P. Vamsi Gupta, please.
Sure. Firstly, a warm good morning to everyone. My esteemed chief guest, Devendra Chaudhary, Lal Goel sir, and my fellow youth guests. So, during my talk now for 5 minutes, I'll be taking your points, which is very much connected to me. So, firstly, what point?
First, please introduce yourself.
Okay, very much sorry, sir. Yeah, my name is Vamsi Gupta. I'm currently pursuing my first year of MBA at IIM Raipur, and so currently being a management student, so it is very much exciting, and I feel it is very much challenging to delve into the startup world, and also to take care of my family business, which I'm currently belong to. So, taking views of my fellow batchmates, to start off with Miss Jean, what she told was that each generation imagines itself to be more intelligent than the current ones and to be the wiser than the ones that will come after. So, I agree, and I strongly feel that every businessman and woman would agree to this fact. And also, before youth entering to the family business, there are two scenarios. Like, youth can be the predecessor for the existing family business, or they can work for a family business. Like, there are many family businesses, and stats has also been discussed in this meeting. The most important aspect that youth should understand is that they should limit their expectations and understand what happens in the existing business. Like, it is first, for few years it's better to have some blinkers uh, to their imaginations, to just limit, to know, understand how the business works. It is not sufficient to know about the mission and vision of the company, but it's also important to know the values of the company on which it belongs, because family business, that is very much important, that to know that on what values it moves on. So the one suggestion, suppose if youth have to go to the family business, is that they should always feel open to learn from the obviously predecessors, the current trends, be it technology or whatever, the management skills, and obviously the competitors, and of course the failures that we are going to face. And also, from my family members and from my ancestors or from my grandparents, what I understood is that traveling is very much important, and the same point is being put forth by our esteemed chief guest. The traveling, it increases our view, and also in our subconscious mind, it imprints some data, so which will be beneficial at some point of our life, be it to bring new ideas, or to face a particular type of failure. Also, let's talk about what difficulties family business currently face. So, Devendra Chaudhary sir, as he is currently the third generation businessman, so now he might be feeling many challenges, and one of which my father is currently facing is that how much the next generation, that how much I am going to ensure that the value is being protected. So suppose if I take a decision, and that results to the worst of the situation of the company, then it's very difficult. So, though though there has to be a logic to convince a business owner, it is very much important it is very much important to know that how business owner values change. So transition is very much important, and that has to be prioritized among everything, because as we know that many examples of the plumbing industry, what you have spoken, that there are three companies in Madura, what you quoted, they are no more existing. But they should always be prepared to take part in the change and to pass on the baton to the next generation. And there has to be some consensus between, say, father and son duo, and that will lead to a good benefit both for the stakeholders and for the company. And I would like to finish off my talk by telling that youth my point to the youth is that the businesses are more challenging than the existing corporate conditions where you currently stay. Don't get saturated with the current pay you get, or current, say, benefits, the temporary benefits that you're currently getting. So businesses are very challenging. Yes, you will have the individuality, but at the also same time, you should have the responsibility to take care of the business, to possess the values, and to drive the change, and also to take the your family business and make it as a legacy for your future generations. Thank you so much for the opportunity, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vamsi Gupta. What you said is very correct, that the challenges are there. And one more thing I would like to add, the youth in the family business, they have a uh, untold pressure on them. They have because the expectation of the current generation is too high. And when the current generation expects more from the youth, that is also wrong. The current generation should understand, after all, he or she is not that experienced or matured enough to take that pressure. So one has to not expect much from the youth. Then the youth should also not take that much pressure, and that is only possible that if the youth will start functioning in a business organization on a very small way, then gradually understand the complete business, and then take over the business from the current generation, instead of from the D-Day one become the boss. You have to work and try to take, otherwise the pressure will be too high. As you rightly said, that there is so much pressure, the challenges, because the current generation knows how to bear that pressure. But the youth who have not seen that pressure, they are in the party mood always, or their studies. And to at that time, if they have to go for the immediately for the challenges, it's quite pressure for them. So that you rightly said, the challenges are there, but it's very beneficial. Thank you very much, Mr. Vamsi Gupta, for giving your views. Now I am going back to our chief guest. Our chief guest, Mr. Deven Chaudhary. You have heard all these youth voices. They have given their different views about the family role of youth in family business. Now, we would like to know from you the concluding from what you have gathered from this media conference, and what is your further suggestions to the youth, because the 6 youths who have joined today, they are on our on the live program, but there are many youths and even the other elders who are watching our live telecast across the world. So we would like to know from you your concluding remarks, Mr. Deven Chaudhary, our chief guest today.
Thank you, Mr. Goel, and thank you all for sharing your thought process. I totally agree what they have spoken on this platform, because youth is having many ideas, many thought process, because they have seen the things are happening and they are seeing those things. So third generation, like, I mean, I'll be saying we are the third generation. We made something happen and we have basically scaled up. We are at that stage, we can call ourselves, our generation, as a pendulum generation. So we have to move left and we have to move right, and then we need to be at the stable position. So sometimes we need to look at the new generation. Sometimes we need to basically bring in coordination between the second generation, and in between we need to take a equilibrium, like somewhere we need to find out the balance. As everybody is having that thought that this is a new generation, it's more like why what to save for future, let's go for the party and let's basically spend this money right away. Just to give you chota sa example, like, we are also doing parties, you also do party, and our parties are basically, noticed, and they basically take references from those party on YOY basis. This was the best party. We don't do party every day, but when we do, we create a benchmark for the party. So living your life in a party way is something different. Living your life in a normal way is something different. My point is, you need to understand who you are. I have shared a slide with you, Mr. Goel. Is it possible to just put the slide on the
No,
screen?
no, 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 not possible. Otherwise, I would have done it. If you would have sent me earlier, I would have done it.
Acha, so my slide says, Aham Brahmasmi.
I will send that slide to them. Yeah, you can show there. Yes, that is
Yes.
possible. But
You can see,
no, now it is, yeah, contrast. Yes, now it is clear. I
it
think
says,
everyone can see this. Yes, please
says
go ahead.
Aham Brahmasmi.
Hmm.
Right. On the one side, it's written as Main Brahma Hu, and one side it is written Main Brahm Hu. It is creator. What a confusion. We need to understand our personalities.
Mr. Chaudhary, just tell our viewers, Brahm is creator and Brahm is the confusion. Correct. Yes.
Creator or confusion. We need to understand our personalities. That we are going to be creator for our business for future, or we will be confusion for the future of this business. So we need to understand who we are, how we intend to get integrated into our existing systems. For example, my kids, my sons, when we discuss and we counsel with them to basically join family business, and they said with certain hooks and queries. I said, okay, fine, whatever way you feel like we'll be bringing that change, but it is going to cost us a fortune. But we need to have a commitment that you will be joining us. We will be giving that platform. But we will be giving you platform. We will be handing over you the baton. My growth, the day I started and the day I reached this level, or I'll be handing over this baton to my growth would be 100x. I expect just 1 0 you need to bring into my turnover once you join. So that's a story of a zero. So you need to suffix 1 0 to my turnover. Is it possible for you? That's only 10x growth. I have taken 100x growth. I'm expecting just 1 0 from you. So they got little confused. They said, what does it mean? I say it's only 10x you need to bring into this turnover. Say, I started my career with 5 million turnover. I'd be reaching at 500 million turnover, and then I'll be handing over the baton to them. Now I say you need to bring in 1 0 to this turnover. Do you have skills? Do you have that kind of a capability? Do you have that kind of a wise mindset? I'll be there to support you. They said there are certain things which we need to bring in into the system, and we probably for that we need to bring in capex. I said, okay, show me the plan. I'll bring in the capex, and we stay there and we scale up this business. So every parent is looking into their next generation, because next generation is our asset. As I said, we are not carrying net profits, we are carrying net worth. Our generation, if they are able to bring in succession to our business, that is our earning. Actually, that is our earning. Youths are facing problem because families are basically having those kind of mindset that a lot of investments, a lot of capex is basically would be on stake. Now youth has to plan their thought process to look into their business first. They need to go back end. They should become frontliner at a later stage. So they should take experience. First, they should become employed to the company, and then they should become employed to the company. So there is a difference. Like first you need to be the employee, then you can become the employer. From day one, you cannot be an employee. You cannot sit on the toppest chair and of the management. Then the entire system will either collapse, and you will be facing a lot of challenges with your existing team and network. Slowly, gradually, things will fall in your lap, and then you can basically bring in improvisation. You take support from your generation, like its experience and is a wiser decision. Both will go parallelly. It's not 1 plus 1, it will make 11. Experience from your previous generation and wiser decisions from the next generation. This will act as a result of a quantum physics. Like it will make 11, not 1 plus 1 2. So quantum physics effect will come when both things will go parallel. So I don't want my kids to put pressure on me, or I should put pressure on them to give me better results from day one. Let them swim, let them get the knowledge, let them get involved into the system, let them look at the areas where they feel like they are confident, they can bring in their thought process, they can bring in some of the specializations, and I just need to fulfill their requirements in turn to take that result out. If they are demanding, okay, I need to work on SAP, I feel like why SAP is required. These job can be done by 10 accountants. So 10 accountants are better than SAP. This is my thought process. But they say, why we need accountant when SAP is your accountant? I'm basically trying to save money. SAP implementation is 2 CR investment, and 10 people, they'd be just having, something like 2.5 or 3 lakh of rupees monthly. I mean, I can pay to them, but I don't want to get involved to a system where everything is on the buttons. But their requirement is not to work with 10 people. Their requirement is to work with a complete competent software where they can become a business analyst by themselves, and they can bring in a complete thought for their business for future. So here we have to bring in a synchronization between old generation and a new generation. We need to basically complement each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deven Chaudhary, for giving really, it's a very inspirational and motivational, I must say, talk of you, and very much in depth the knowledge about the family business. And what our chief guest has mentioned is very right, that their synchronization is required between both the generations, because many times it happens. Yes, Miss Jean, you have raised the hand. We are short of time. Anything very special you want to mention? Please unmute yourself.
No,
Yes.
sir.
Okay. So we have to understand one thing very clearly: both the generations require to synchronize, as our chief guest, Mr. Deven Chaudhary, has said. Because what happens sometimes that the older generation feels that this younger youth they are just spending 2 hours or 3 hours in the office, and now they says that I have completed the work and I want to do more work, or I want to go here and there. While they but youth, the current generation feels that I was working for 8 hours or 10 hours or 15 hours, 16 hours a day, and they are only working for 6 hours and they are going for partying. They should also understand, the elder generation should understand that because of the technology, they can do those works which the current generation is doing, taking so much time, as our chief guest has mentioned about the SAP and the employing 10 accountants, because the current generation feels that those 10 accountant families are being run because of this business, because of them, while the SAP only one analyst is required or one operator is required. So they have a socio-economic condition also they are doing, because their generation, the current generation, might be having that much family values and the relations. That also plays a very, very important role as far as the family businesses are concerned. Youth should also understand this thing, but role of youth is very important, which I am sure that today's media conference has proved, that the role of youth in a family business is very important. If the country has to grow, they must invest from both the sides, the current generation and the youth, in the family business, as the data are very clear that everywhere in the world, all the top developed countries are being run and contributed by maximum by the family businesses, not by overnight operators or by the one-time promoters. So when we are talking about the family business, the role of youth is very important. Thank you very much to all of you, especially to our chief guest. And today's program, which has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon se Samvad Saroka News, as well as it was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring to you every day a current topic. And tomorrow's topic is a very, very current, relevant topic. And that media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. The topic is Beti Paraya Dhan Hoti Hai. In English, the daughter is others' property. And that why, that I'm sure that once you will watch tomorrow, you will come to know why we say the Beti Paraya Dhan Hoti Hai. And our panelists are Miss Bhamati, IAS, former Secretary, Government of India; Miss Kirti Khanna, DGM, NTPC, Noida; Miss Ankita S., founder, A-Works Design Studio, Bangalore; Miss Deepika Mishra, Human Resource Professional at MNC, Bangalore; Advocate Shivang Bhargav, New Delhi and Mathura. So please join in tomorrow for media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, Mr. Devendra Chaudhary, for giving such an in-depth knowledge of the family business. I'm sure your talk today is going to enlighten and remembered by everyone, whether he's a youth or a person like me who is running the business. Thank you very much. And thank you all the youths today for joining and giving their views. And thank you all the viewers for watching our show. And I'm sure today's program is